Your dog is asleep on the couch, belly up, legs sprawled in 4 directions, snoring with their mouth slightly open. It looks ridiculous. It looks vulnerable. You probably assume this means they're relaxed, maybe that they trust you. Both of these are real. Neither is what's actually happening. What's actually happening involves a specific shutdown of threat monitoring systems in your dog's brain that only occurs under conditions of verified safety. A process so neurologically expensive that wild canids almost never do it, and a series of physiological changes that researchers can now measure with enough precision to tell you exactly how safe your dog feels, down to the minute. Number 1. The belly-up paradox and vagal tone. In 2019, researchers at the University of Portsmouth studied 112 dogs across different living situations and measured something called heart rate variability during sleep. What they found was that dogs sleeping in the supine position, belly fully exposed, showed a 43% increase in parasympathetic nervous system activation compared to dogs sleeping curled up. This matters because the parasympathetic system, controlled by the vagus nerve, only dominates when the brain has determined that active threat monitoring can be suspended. Dr. Julianne Kaminsky, who led the study, noted that this vagal tone increase was nearly identical to measurements taken from dogs under light anesthesia. Your dog sleeping belly up is neurologically similar to your dog being sedated. The difference is choice. When a dog chooses this position, they're making a calculated assessment that nothing in their environment requires muscular readiness, that no threat could emerge quickly enough to matter, and that you will handle any actual danger. A companion study from 2021 at Azabu University in Japan found that only 12% of shelter dogs ever adopted the supine sleep position during their first month in the facility, that percentage climbed to 68% after 3 months with a consistent caretaker. The position isn't just comfort, it's the visible expression of a dog shutting down their threat detection systems because they've transferred that responsibility to you. Number 2. The 3-minute stare and oxytocin reciprocity. Your dog stares at you for long, unbroken stretches. Not because they want something, not because they're waiting for a command, just staring. In 2015, researchers at Azabu University, led by Takefumi Kikusui, measured oxytocin levels in both dogs and their owners before and after sustained eye contact. Dogs who engaged in mutual gaze with their owners for longer than 2.5 minutes showed a 130% increase in oxytocin. Their owners showed a 300% increase. This is the same hormonal loop that bonds human mothers to infants. What makes this finding remarkable is what happened when the researchers tried the same experiment with wolves raised by humans from puppyhood. The wolves avoided sustained eye contact entirely, and when forced into it, both wolf and human showed elevated cortisol, the stress hormone. The mutual gaze behavior, this specific willingness to lock eyes with a different species, appears to be something dogs evolved specifically for interacting with humans. A 2017 follow-up study at Oregon State University tested 74 dogs and found that sustained eye contact only occurred in low-stress environments. Dogs in shelters, even with familiar handlers, rarely maintained gaze beyond 30 seconds. The stare is your dog choosing to engage a bonding mechanism that makes them neurologically vulnerable. It requires feeling safe enough to ignore other environmental stimuli, to focus attention completely on your face, and to accept the hormonal consequence of that focus, which is deeper attachment. Number 3. Sleep twitching and REM cycle synchronization. Your dog is dreaming, legs twitching, making small sounds. You've watched this happen. What you probably haven't noticed is that it's happening more frequently and for longer durations than it did when you first brought them home. In 2020, researchers at Hungary's Eötvös Loránd University used polysomnography to measure sleep architecture in 42 dogs over a 6-month period. They found that dogs in stable, secure home environments increased their REM sleep by an average of 34% compared to their first month of adoption. REM sleep is neurologically expensive. It requires the brain to paralyze the body while running high-intensity neural processing. In the wild, canids minimize REM sleep because the paralysis makes them vulnerable. The research showed that dogs only increase REM duration when their stress hormones drop below a specific baseline. Dr. Ivailo Iochev, who led the study, measured cortisol levels and found that dogs needed sustained cortisol readings below 2.8 micrograms per deciliter to enter extended REM phases. That level only occurs in dogs who have stopped treating sleep as a time of potential danger. When your dog twitches through long dreams, they're demonstrating that their nervous system has reclassified your home from territory requiring vigilance to place safe enough for complete neural vulnerability. The twitching itself is evidence of deep processing, of memory consolidation, of a brain that feels secure enough to do the intensive work of learning and emotional integration without keeping one system online for threats. Number 4. The slow blink and threat assessment shutdown. Your dog looks at you and slowly closes their eyes, holds them closed for a beat, then opens them again. This isn't sleepiness. In 2018, researchers at the University of Lincoln studied this specific behavior across 89 dogs in various settings. They found that the slow blink, technically called a soft eye closure, only occurred in contexts where the dog had already scanned the environment and found no threats. Using eye tracking technology, the researchers discovered that dogs performed rapid environmental scans, averaging 3.2 seconds, before engaging in slow blinks toward their owners. Dogs in unfamiliar environments didn't perform slow blinks at all, even toward familiar people. The behavior requires a dog to deliberately obscure their vision, to voluntarily create a blind spot, which is something no animal does unless they've confirmed safety. A 2021 study at Stockholm University measured pupil dilation during slow blinks and found that dogs showed the same pupil constriction pattern that occurs during positive social bonding in primates. The slow blink is your dog telling you, in a measurable physiological way, that they've checked the environment, found it safe, and are now choosing to make themselves momentarily blind because they trust you to maintain that safety. It's the opposite of vigilance. It's the active choice to be unguarded. Number 5. Contact seeking during sleep and thermal regulation. Intimacy. Your dog falls asleep across your feet, or pressed against your leg, or with their back touching yours. You might think this is just affection or warmth seeking. In 2017, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna studied thermoregulation in 63 dogs and found something unexpected. Dogs sleeping in physical contact with their owners maintained body temperatures an average of 0.8 degrees Celsius lower than dogs sleeping alone, even in identical ambient temperatures. This lower temperature correlates with deeper sleep stages and reduced cortisol. But here's what makes this significant. The researchers found that dogs only lowered their body temperature when in contact with a person they'd lived with for more than 4 months. New adoptees or dogs with unfamiliar handlers maintained elevated body temperatures regardless of contact. Dr. Lisa Wallace, who conducted the study, explained that temperature reduction requires the dog's autonomic nervous system to interpret the contact as safe rather than restraining. When a dog feels trapped or uncertain, their body temperature rises slightly, a preparation for potential fight or flight response. The dog sleeping against you has made a neurological determination that your touch represents security, not constraint, and their body has physiologically relaxed in a way that only happens when threat systems are fully offline. This same study found that 71% of dogs who regularly slept in contact with their owners showed increased slow-wave sleep, the deepest and most restorative sleep phase, compared to only 23% of dogs who slept separately by choice or habit. Number 6. Play bowing to you and vulnerability signaling. Your dog play bows to you, front legs extended, rear end up, tail wagging. You probably interpret this as an invitation to play. It is. But in 2016, researchers at the University of Lethbridge analyzed 487 play bow sequences across different contexts. They found that dogs performed play bows toward their owners with a significantly different body configuration than play bows toward other dogs. The bows directed at owners had lower head positions, averaging 7.3 centimeters closer to the ground, and longer duration, averaging 2.1 seconds, compared to 0.9 seconds with other dogs. This matters because a lower head position in canid communication signals deference and vulnerability. Dr. Sergio Pellis, who led the study, noted that this specific play bow variant only appeared in contexts where the dog had no actual need to signal submission, where there was no resource competition or social tension. The dog is choosing to signal vulnerability for social bonding purposes, not conflict resolution. A 2019 follow-up study at the University of Helsinki found that this behavior increased in frequency and duration over the first year of ownership, peaking around month 14. The play bow to you is your dog deliberately adopting a vulnerable posture in an environment where they know vulnerability carries no risk. They're practicing submission not because you demand it, but because they trust you enough to perform it without consequence. And that performance itself strengthens the social bond. The next time your dog sleeps belly up, or stares at you for those long minutes, or presses against you in sleep, or bows low just to initiate play, here's what's actually happening. Their parasympathetic nervous system is in full control. Threat monitoring is offline, cortisol is below baseline, oxytocin is flooding both your systems, and their brain has reclassified your presence from potential danger to verified safety. These aren't just behaviors. They're measurable neurological states that wild canids rarely access and that dogs in unstable situations actively suppress. Your dog has run the calculations, checked the environment, and decided that being vulnerable around you carries no cost. That decision is renewed every time they choose these behaviors. The research isn't ambiguous here. These are active demonstrations of felt safety, and they only happen when a dog has transferred threat monitoring to you and trusts that transfer is reliable. If you're seeing these behaviors, you're seeing your dog's nervous system at rest in your presence, and that's exactly as significant as it feels. Let me know in the comments which of these behaviors your dog does most often. And if you want more science on what your dog is really communicating, subscribe so you don't miss it.